Will the Sony A7CR actually have a 61 megapixel backside illuminated full frame sensor? And what about the Sony A7C II? Will it get a bump to 33 megapixels? Well, we've got the latest specs for both cameras. Stick around after this short break for all the details. But first, please do me a favor. Follow me on Twitter, but most importantly, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, it helps this channel grow, and of course it keeps you up to date on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. Sony doesn't believe that they have enough cameras on the market, so the A7C isn't going to get just one, but two successors, the A7C II and a high-resolution version of the camera, the A7CR. And let's start off with the latest specifications from that camera, and a big thanks to Photo Rumors for delivering these leaked specifications. The A7CR is going to have the exact same sensor found in the Sony A7R5. That's right, 61 megapixels, backside illuminated full frame sensor. It's also going to have that AI chip. It's going to have an improved autofocus system and improved AI subject detection. And that's pretty much it for the Sony A7CR. Now let's go on to the other camera, the A7C II. And for this one, well, we have a little bit more information. The Sony A7C II will have a 33 megapixel sensor, the same one found in the Sony A7 IV, and people love that camera, so getting that resolution in this camera, well, it's certainly, I have no problems with it. And in terms of other chips, well, it's going to have the Bionz XR image processor, and no surprises, it also gets that AI processing chip, so AI built right into the chip instead of in firmware. So obviously this means a slightly better autofocus system. It has 759 real-time autofocus points. It has animal eye detection, human eye detection, all that normal stuff. Now in terms of whether it does boat detection or, well, UFO, UAP detection, we just don't know yet. But it would be nice to have some sort of AI detection for autofocus that could actually focus on smaller objects in the frame. So if you're doing, well, air shows, if you're capturing helicopters, jets, and I was kidding about UFOs and UAPs because those are usually much smaller when you're shooting with a much larger, let's say a 24 millimeter, they're only going to make up a couple of pixels, but doing air shows, shooting planes, well, they're usually quite a bit smaller than the surrounding background. To have an autofocus that's dedicated to smaller objects, such as airplane detection or something like that, well, that would definitely improve things. Now, in terms of continuous shooting, same as the Sony A7R5 and A7 IV, Sony seems to have this cap at 10 frames per second continuous shooting. Now, not that 10 frames per second is bad. For most people, for most scenarios, 10 frames per second is more than enough. In fact, I would set the benchmark, the bare minimum, at 7 frames per second if you're doing any sort of sporting work. Even if it's just your son at a football game or a hockey game or any other sports, 7 frames per second with an accurate autofocus system is pretty much where we need to be. Now in terms of ISO, we're looking at an ISO of 100 to 51,200. No mention of an extended range and no mention of, well, no mention of an extended range. And now for the video specifications. The camera's capable of 4K up to 60 frames per second with S-Cinetone. Now there's no mention on S-Log2 or S-Log3. Again, these are leaked specifications according to Photo Rumors. We don't have every sort of resolution and frame rate, all the codecs involved. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, it is 10-bit. Now it doesn't mention if that's 10-bit internal or 10-bit external. And today, here in 2023, as we go into the second half, if it doesn't have internal, I mean, it's a little bit frustrating. Gone are the days where, oh, okay, it has 10-bit external, that's fine, I'll hook up an external recorder. No, today we want 10-bit internal, 4K 60 10-bit internal, S-Cinetone, S-Log2 and S-Log3 would be ideal, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now in terms of the viewing devices within this camera, the EVF, 2.36 million dots, no surprises there, but the LCD, well, it is 3 inches, which is a good size, but it's only, 1.03 million dots for the articulating LCD. To me, that's a little bit of a disappointment. I'd like to have a slightly bigger resolution, but now the let me try that again, articulating screen, is it something like what we see in the Sony A7R5, 4-axis articulating screen? I certainly hope so. And the last tidbit that we have, it's going to have a breathing compensation, which is really key. That we see that in a lot of Sony cameras, so I'm not really surprised. But in Canon cameras, that's something, and other cameras, we don't really see yet. So having breathing compensation is a really nice touch. So I'm very, You know what's interesting here is not that we're getting two successors to the A7C, but if you look at all of the cameras on the market right now, look at all the cameras from Sony. Sony is just producing camera after camera. They've got so many different options, but they can all sort of, well, find their lineage back to the A7 III or the A7R5. You'll see that most of the cameras, they are children of the A7S III, the same sort of video specs, although, well, maybe we won't give it 4K 120. Or maybe we won't give it as much resolution on the EVF or the LCD. Maybe we won't give it a 4-axis articulating screen. Maybe we'll give it an APS-C sensor instead of a full-frame sensor. And right there, we can describe 5 Sony cameras that have come out in the last couple of years. And now we're seeing the same thing with the A7C. We're seeing one of the cameras, the high-resolution version, the A7CR, borrowing an awful lot off of the Sony A7R5. And I see, as Canon kind of cripples some of their cameras, what I see Sony doing here is pretty much the same. And this isn't to say that the Sony A7CR is going to be a bad camera. At this point, we don't know the price point. Now, previous rumors from Sony Alpha Rumors said that these cameras were supposed to cost between $2,000 and $2,500. The price of the Sony A7CR, sorry, the A7R5, well, it's right around $3,900. So pricing the camera right around $2,000 or $2,500 is approximately half the price. So I would suspect to get half the camera. What about 1 card slot instead of 2? What about some other things that the Sony A7R5 has that you wouldn't expect to see in the Sony A7CR? I'm really curious to see how the specs finally shape out, but do take this with a grain of salt. At this point, we don't have any validation from what Photo Rumors has put out. And not only that, even when we get solid leaked specifications from Photo Rumors or Sony Alpha Rumors, the Camera Insider, one of the biggest problems with getting Sony leaked information is Sony is very good at not leaking information out. So even when we get information, it sometimes proves to be incorrect even weeks before an announcement. And speaking of when is the announcement supposed to be, well, the announcement is pegged at somewhere between late September and October. So I'm really looking forward to this. And as soon as I have any pre-order links or any of that stuff, I'll have it ready for you in the links down below. I'm kind of excited by this camera. The A7C was a very popular camera, and I'm really looking for the 2 children, if we are going to get 2 cameras, of the A7C, the A7CR, and the A7 II. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the final specifications are. And as soon as I have them, and as soon as I have the pre-order links, I'm going to put them right down here. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest camera news and rumors for the Sony A7C children, the A7CR, and the A7C II, or maybe you're interested in finding out about the latest information on the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, the R1, or what Nikon's got planned, or even Panasonic. If that's the case, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button, but make sure you also choose all notifications. And for all the minor news and rumors, then go ahead and follow me on Twitter or X. I think they're having a bit of a branding confusion at this point because while you see the X logo everywhere, you still see twitter.com in the URL. It's there, and then you'll even see at the top it says Twitter/X. So I'm not so sure that the branding, the transition is complete. So Twitter, X, go ahead and follow me there. Not only do I put out all those news and rumors that aren't quite big enough to have their own separate video, but also really incredible pricing information. And if you're interested in purchasing any camera equipment, lenses, or accessories, please consider using my affiliate links here in right down here, because they really do help support this channel. Any money I do get coming in goes back out to supporting the channel. So I've already got 2 cameras that I'm ready to purchase and pre-order, the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great weekend, and I'm pretty sure we'll see each other soon. Cheers now.